YouTube channel. So, this is the second episode of what I'm calling my story, is just to bring um, awareness of like what happened and build community across my YouTube channel. So, today's topic is a little heavier. We are going to be talking about what happened to my mom. Well, look at my. Sorry, I set up. Actually, that right there is my mom. Um, if you do know my mother, her name was Evelyn. She was literally like a breath of fresh air. She was hardworking. She was very emotional. She was a softie, and I would make fun of her all the time about that because I was like, "Why are you so soft?" Um, she was a believer in Christ. She was a great salsa dancer. If you know her, she was out there dancing literally. If she could go every single day, she would. But really, like maybe like Wednesday through Sunday, she was out dancing at all the salsa social spots. Also when the sun was out and when it was summertime, she was dancing that way. So she was always just lighting up rooms with her smile, with the way she carried herself. And she had red nails, red cars. I've had 3 red cars all because of her. That's like her signature staple. And red wasn't even her favorite color, but she liked red. And so, yeah, she was very reliable. She was loyal. Like, if you were friends with my mother, like, you had the best friend in the world. She would do anything for you. If she was doing something, she would completely stop just to help you out. That just was the type of person that she was. Um, she was honest. Sometimes I would tell her like she was being honest, like too honest, like rude honest. Um, but yeah, so she was honest, but it was funny. Sometimes it helped her, sometimes it didn't. She was loving, she was caring, she was so creative and artsy. Like she was literally a jack of all trades. She was able to make cakes. She was braiding hair. She was what else did she do? She did everything. The gifts that she gave people were so meaningful, and sometimes she would like put them together. Like she did a diaper cake for a baby shower, and then for somebody else, she did the same cake but with money rolled up. Um, so yeah. Oh, oh my goodness. I'm just gonna leave that there. What else? Oh, she was just inside and out, a beautiful person. She made relationships with everybody. She knew everybody, it seems like. Um, and she was just really good at nurturing relationships with people. So yeah, she just knew a lot of people. So I say all this to say that like that was my mom. I wanted to give you an introduction of like who she was, and the type of person she is because she played such a vital role. Oh, hold on. This just rang the bell. So my mother would call herself a mother father because she was basically my mother and father because she was a single parent. Um, and I just thought that was so funny. And Mother's Day coming around, so that kind of like just like rang a bell in my head. But anyways, yeah, I say all this to say to give you an introduction of who my mother was. Yeah, the best person I've known. So we're gonna get into the bad part. Um, so basically, my mom got surgery back in December. She got surgery. It was a cosmetic surgery. I'm gonna try and be detailed, but not say too much because some things I do like to keep like private, but I still want to share. So she had cosmetic surgery that ended up having a bit of complications, like literally right after. And about 16 days after the surgery, she passed away. Um, she ended up passing from blood clots. That's what we found out. And there was many signs that like all of us should have seen, but we didn't. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. But I just want to bring up the fact that it was a cosmetic procedure because cosmetic procedures are so popular right now. Everyone's trying to get a BBL or get a mommy makeover or get their boobs done or do all these things to enhance their body, their face, their hands, their legs, like literally their whole body. So I just wanted to bring awareness that like yes, some people go through the procedure and they're fine, and other people they don't make it. And sadly, that happened to be my mom. So yeah, I do know that shortly after my mom passed in 2022, there was actually a celebrity that had passed from pretty much the same thing. So yeah, it's just really rough. You go into a surgery thinking that everything's gonna be okay, and you do not make it. So yeah. So again, I don't want to get too much into it because this next like subtopic is like about her passing, and I don't want to torture myself and be too detailed where I feel like I'm reliving it. And again, I kind of want to keep certain things to myself and keep those like confidential. But yeah, so long story short, she had some complications from her surgery, and one of the complications was shortness of breath. And so this would happen often after her surgery, but we didn't think anything of it really. Um, Everyone said she was fine, so we were just trusting the medical field, you know? And that night, well, that morning, well, that okay, so that night I slept with her. She was in her recliner and I was on the couch. And I slept with her throughout the night just to make sure that she's okay. And basically, she had gotten up to use the bathroom. She came back, lots of shortness of breath, and she started to cough, and we would just call these like her episodes. So when this would happen, um, she would cough a lot. She would say she can't breathe and things like that. And I just thought it was an episode. And so I did all I can. I did the usual thing, like giving her water, fanning her, all the things that we did. And after a while of trying, I gave up. And when I mean give up, I literally like exhausted all of my options to try and figure out like how to help her. And I basically called 911. Well, I didn't, but my boyfriend called 911 because we fell asleep that night on FaceTime. And by the grace of God, this FaceTime video did not like um X out. You know how sometimes FaceTime videos they don't like last the whole night, they'll disconnect. That night it did not disconnect, and he was actually helping me trying to help my mom, and then he was the one who called 911 for me. So, yeah, shout out to him because he was living that moment with me. And yeah, that's all I could say. Um But yeah, this was a very scary moment for me. I really did not know what was going on. Um, I wish I did not experience this, but in a way, I'm glad that I did and nobody else in my family had to experience this, specifically my grandmother. My grandmother was taking care of my mom heavily after her surgery. And that night, she ended up actually having something to do. So I was like, oh, I got it. I'll take care of her. And I think that was actually my last day of school and stuff. So, anyways, that's a side note. But um, so yeah, so that night, um, it was just me and her. And I'm grateful that it was me. I'm grateful that I was able to be there. But I'm also grateful for the fact that none of my other family members had to bear that burden. Not burden, because that's not the right word, but like just bear the pain and trauma that had gone on that night. And yeah, so yeah, I just couldn't imagine either like how my grandmother would have reacted. So um I'm pretty strong-minded, and yes, I get triggered from time to time like of what happened, but I think that I was supposed to be the one to just be there with her. Um and in a way, it's so strange how, like, when a mom gives birth to a child. Yes, I know there was like a bunch of people in the room. My mom said like there was a lot of people, but um when a mother gives birth to the child, you and the mom, like your mom is like the person that you come into the world to see, and like that's like your first touch, like besides the nurses, but that's your first interaction, and I was her last interaction. So yeah, very interesting. I just thought about that right now because it's kind of crazy. I hope I'm saying this all clearly. I hope this is relaying. Um, but yeah, so then we're just gonna go into like that day. This all kind of happened around 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning, super early. Um, and being that my boyfriend had called 911, um, he also called his family and was like, "Listen, this is what's going on. Danny needs support right now." So his family came, and they were like the first people there to like just be with me and to hold me because I was a mess. And yeah, so his family really showed up and was just there. His mom was with me, and everybody was just shocked. After that, I had called my uncle and my mom's friend Jessica because you know those were the people that I feel like needed to know. Another person who needed to know was my grandmother, but I would didn't know how to tell her. So I um I didn't tell her first. Um my uncle relayed the message to her because I didn't know what words to say. I was distraught myself. And yeah, so I couldn't relay that message to her. So my uncle did it. And that day, the way I can still see like their faces of how they reacted and like hear it, like everything is just like so vivid. And yeah, it was a rough moment for me and my family. Um and then later that day, like I said, this was like 4 or 5 in the morning. So I was with my family for some time until my mom had gotten taken away by the whatever the people are. I forget what they're called. But after she had gotten taken away, um people just started showing up to my house. And this was weird for me because that meant that somehow the word got out that my mom had passed, and I didn't tell anyone besides the people I had called. And so yeah, my house was full of people. Someone called me and told me that it was all over Facebook, and this really upset me because in a way it upset me, but I started to see like the goodness that came out of it. But again, like everyone bringing everything to Facebook and then not checking on like me or the family first, I just felt that like that was like really like crazy, like disrespectful. That was like very insensitive. But later on in the day when I actually like read through the posts and stuff, they were really genuine. And like, when people pass, like people are so quick to like post, but I want to just say like people like let the person grieve because they're probably shocked and don't know what they went through. But also don't rush to go to social media if you haven't even checked up on the family first. Like that's a real big thing for me because like I would never, never, ever think to just post something when I don't even know what happened. I don't even know why. Not that I need to know all the details, but like, like that would make sense. And not even before I reached out to family. So, yeah, so that was just a little weird for me, and I was really mad when I found out that it was all over social media, and yeah, so that rubbed me the wrong way for sure. Um so yeah, again, a lot of people were over my house. My house was full of my mom's side of the family, my dad's side of the family, and like that has never happened like ever. And then there was like a clear divide between families because like it has never happened. We have never all been in the same place. Certain people wanted to come over and were asking for my address. So it's like if you have to ask for my address, then like you kind of already know like kind of where you stand, like just please don't show up. But like people were just coming out the woodworks and like yeah, it was a lot. And like thinking about it that day and like now, yes, I am grateful for all the people that came to support me and my family, but at the same time like we were all super shocked. Didn't couldn't even comprehend what had happened, and the fact that like my house was just like flooded with people, it was just really really not good timing, I guess. And um I just felt like I had to be a host. I couldn't even sit and try to just grieve with my family. Like I had to host people. I was like, "Oh, are you okay?" Like instead of people asking me and comforting me, I was trying to comfort them because like they're in my house and I want to make sure that they're comfortable in my house. Like and like that's so crazy to say because like I don't know. I don't know. It's just it was just insane that I was literally asking people if they were okay. Do you want water? Do you want something to eat? Just making sure that they were good while my head was just like in the clouds. So yeah. And so yeah, that was that. I can go on for longer about that, but I think I ranted enough. So now we'll talk about like the funeral arrangements and all of that stuff, right? So my mom had passed in the middle of December. So holiday season is coming up. Um and a lot of arrangements had to be like rushed because of this holiday season. Things were going to be closed and I of course I didn't want to think about arranging anything, but you have to make arrangements. Like you can't just leave your loved one there like and not do anything for them for a certain amount of time. And I feel like there's like some timeline or gap that has um that you kind of have to abide by when someone passes. So just thinking about arrangements was not on my top priority, but my family really like helped me and asked me permission. Like everyone was so okay, well, everyone, but the closest ones were like so supportive in just giving me what's the word I'm looking for? Like um the final say. So they were like, listen, like I know we don't want to talk about these things right now, but this is like what has to happen. We have to do these arrangements for your mom before uh the certain time, the holidays, all that stuff. And so literally the next week we had like the funeral wake and the cemetery and the mass and all of that like lined up and basically planned out. The only things that we had to do was like go to the funeral home and do all those things. So that was just that timeline was so rushed, so crazy, but like we just had to do it because that's just the way that it ended up being. Um and yeah, it's so crazy too because the funeral home that we had chosen is basically the funeral home that like everyone in our family goes to. So we know the people who work there. My mom was actually friends with the people who worked there. And so I know that must have been really hard for them, like, in preparing for this day and preparing for her. And, yeah, I just couldn't imagine what they were going through in that moment too, because they were like childhood friends, you know? But they were, again, so supportive because they did know my mom. And the day of the funeral was just, you would have thought that like my mother was a celebrity with the way that people were telling me that like lines were wrapped around the building. It was raining. People were waiting, trying to get inside. Like, if there was a line outside the building, right? Which I didn't see because I was inside the building. But there was also a line within, like wrapping within the walls of the funeral home. So that's just, I don't know the number of how many people were there, but I want to say like hundreds, like easily hundreds. And yeah, there was just, I hugged every single person who walked through those doors and came to pay their respects to like my mom and to me and my family. I Oh, also, not to mention, people came from all over. There was people from Puerto Rico, people from Florida, people from the Carolinas. Literally people from everywhere came to show up for my mom. Um and that just goes to show like the type of person she was, right? Like, like I don't know. That I just thought that like that was amazing that so many people showed up for her. Even like people from high school, people from childhood, a bunch of her work friends, a bunch of her church friends, a bunch of her friends from like every single like walk of life, like they were there. Um so yeah, that's just a happy, that's just a little happy note of like that part, because that day was draining, not gonna lie. Like sitting and speaking with everyone and everyone telling me like basically the same things, people giving me just hugs and them crying, them seeing her for the first time. Um it was it was a hard day, but we were able to just see like how loved she was. And so that was a blessing in itself. Um Also, people were sending flowers, like, those, like, bouquets, like, I got one from my high school dance teachers, like, how crazy is that? I don't even know how the word spread so fast, but it spread like wildfire, and, like, everyone knew, everyone was there, and yeah, so, yeah, she was just loved, man, she was so loved, and I'm so grateful. Like, I know I was kind of complaining earlier about, like, all the people showing up to my house because, like, the timing, but, like, in the end, everyone's intentions were good. So you can't go wrong with that, you know? But but yeah, so that was that was basically what had happened. That's my mom. That's what led up to her passing, the day of, the arrangements. Um yeah, that's that. Do you see how hot I am? Yeah. I'm so warm. Um But yeah, so that's what I went through on December 2022. And um yeah, we're still grieving over here. It's not easy. And yeah, I'm taking it one day at a time because that's all you can do. And yeah, so thank you for tuning in. Um, this is the second episode of basically my story this whole month. I'm going to be sharing what happened after this event and more because this happened so abruptly. Oh, and side note, listen to this. This is why like I really think, no, I know that like God's timing is everything, okay? So, look, my mom passed on December 16th. Me and my boyfriend had planned to go on a cruise December 18th. Do you see? Do you see? I'm not saying that she passed in like the right time or anything, but like the way that I could have missed it completely if she were to pass later on and I was on a cruise and I couldn't be there. Like that's just insane to me that that could have happened. So, yeah, I don't know. That's crazy that the timing even worked out that way because I finished my last day and I was getting ready to go on a cruise in 2 days. Like, just imagine. Imagine if I was on a cruise. I didn't pay for the Wi-Fi package, by the way. So, like, imagine I was on that cruise, didn't have Wi-Fi, didn't know anything was going on, and that had happened, and I was not even there. Like, insane. But anyways, um, yeah, that's what happened. Um, and me and my family are still healing, still trusting in God and his plan for us, and we're just taking it one day at a time. So, yeah. Thanks again. I know I ranted a little bit, but thanks again for tuning in, and if you have any questions, just let me know. If you're grieving someone right now, um again, take it one day at a time. It's going to be hard. It's going to be like this, and we're going to talk about grief like towards the end of these episodes, towards the end of this month, because like I said, I'm still going through it, and some days are good high days and some days are low days, and yeah, but God got you. And I just want to say thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one on Saturday.